Hello, my name is Elijah Parrish Lovejoy. People in your time know me as an abolitionist. I suppose I was known as such back in my day too. However, I was also a Presbyterian minister, journalist, and newspaper editor as well. I was born in 1802 and lived until being shot by a pro-slavery mob right here in Alton in 1837. According to John Quincy Adams, the murder gave a shock as of an earthquake throughout this country. My passing has been referred to as the first casualty of the Civil War. After attending the academy at Monmouth College, I eventually graduated in 1826 from Waterville College cum laude and valedictorian. After having grown tired of teaching, I moved to Boston for work, but found none available. I wrote the president of Waterville College to procure money for travel to Illinois and arrived in St. Louis in 1827. I became an editor and partnered with the St. Louis Times that supported sending freed American blacks to Africa. I also found time to attend Princeton Theological Seminary and became an ordained Presbyterian minister. It was at the St. Louis Times where I worked with people who were members of the American Colonization Society, whose purpose was to return freed blacks to Africa. I set up a church and continued my criticism of the most important issue of my day: slavery. In 1835, a Missouri paper pushed for the gradual emancipation of slaves. In time, another paper began suggesting a gradual emancipation in Missouri, of which I fully supported in the Observer. Pressure from prominent St. Louis business people convinced the Observer to stop further articles on slavery. I would not back down, and before long the Observer had new owners and asked me to stay on as editor. I continued to be controversial. A mixed-race man named Francis McIntosh killed a policeman and seriously injured another. He died by being burned to death. While none of the mob were convicted, Judge Lawless insinuated that the Observer and myself had incited the attack on the police. By 1836, pro-slavery forces had destroyed my printing presses for the third time. It was then I had made the decision to move to Alton in the free state of Illinois. Before I could move, however, an angry mob broke into my office and vandalized it. No policeman intervened, and my printing press was thrown into the river. In 1837, I proudly started the Alton Observer, also serving as pastor at Alton Presbyterian Church. I backed the idea of a state anti-slavery society, but after an economic crisis in March, Alton citizens began believing my views might be contributing to hard times in town. I decided to hold the Illinois Anti-Slavery Congress in my Upper Alton church with a few pro-slavery proponents in the gathering. A few months later, my press was under attack again. This time, pro-slavery partisans approached Gilman's warehouse where I had hidden my printing press. The leaders of the mob set up a ladder to set fire to the roof. I, along with Royal Weller, went outside and pushed over the ladder and went back inside. They secured the ladder again against the warehouse, where again we went outside to overturn it. I was shot 5 times. Once again my press was destroyed, and this time broken to bits before thrown into the river. In the aftermath, no one was convicted of the mob assault or murder, and no service was held for fear of physical threats. And no report of my death in the town newspaper. After my passing, my brother Owen Lovejoy entered politics and became the leader of the Illinois abolitionists, while he and brother Joseph wrote a memoir published in 1838 by the Anti-Slavery Society, and was distributed widely among abolitionists throughout the country. On November 2, 1837, 5 days before my death, I gave a speech on the abolition question, where I asserted my willingness to respect the views of my opponents, but claimed the right to challenge them, as guaranteed in the Constitution. I reminded the audience that I was a hard-working, God-fearing citizen who had broken no laws, and the physical threats to myself and my family were totally unjustified. I ended by declaring that I would not be driven away, but would continue my work in Alton. The mob killing was finally commemorated by a monument in Alton City Cemetery 60 years later in 1897. Another 60 years passed before John Glanville published my first full-length biography. Like me, Glanville was a former Alton minister and editor who suffered persecution for his commitment to human rights.